who says being the president of an organization gives you power? It doesn't. It doesn't. It gives you responsibility, gives you opportunity, gives you heartburn, gives you sleepless nights sometimes, but it also gives you a lot of reward. And that's what I get back out of all of this. The opportunity to join with you guys, share stories, learn more about the community, and hopefully grow the community and keep our roots deep within the soil here. Tonight, we're going to have Nancy Turrell, the Executive Director from MartinArts, give us a little information about what's going on over at the old Stuart High School, Martin County High School. We talked about it at our board meeting the other day, and we couldn't figure out whether it was Stuart High School or Martin County High School.
Yes.
So we will find out tonight.
For clarity,
We're also going to have some of my dearest and closest friends from Old Timers, which is at the museum every Wednesday morning, and some folks who don't make the meetings, participate in a roundtable discussion. And they're going to tell us stories that they recall about Stuart High School. You are free to call them out on lies, because I know that on Wednesday mornings at the museum, they're all telling lies. A couple things while I've got your attention. We do have some things going on this summer, but it's not going to be any more meetings like this until next September. We anticipate being on the ballot with a resolution to authorize the city to lease us the old feed store on an ongoing basis. You'll be hearing more about that. We'll be sending out notifications to you. We go before the City Commission on the 22nd to get their head going up and down. I know not all our heads are going up and down, but we need to get their heads going up and down at the same time. So we'll be asking for all the support we can get and notifying all your friends and neighbors who live in the city of Stuart, because that's who has to approve us doing this. But you will be getting, where we won't be having meetings like this, we will be communicating with you with what's happening with our lease situation. We are proud to be participating with the Martin County Historical Preservation Group. We're kicking off Preservation Month on May 1st, and they're kicking it off again right behind the museum, where the county is providing tent and refreshments, and we're going to share information about Preservation Month. There is a whole series of events that take place during Preservation Month, and we will have that up on our website, on our Facebook page, probably in the next day or so. One other quick thing that I've had going on. I had the opportunity to meet with the Martin County Model Railroaders Association. I've never gone to their display at the fair. We had a setup donated to us. We have no room for it, and I thought it was huge. Then I went down and saw what they had going on. But they were still interested in incorporating it into what they've got going on. And I'm trying to build those relationships, that one organization can reach out to another organization and help guide them in their projects, and they can help guide us in our projects. So I did tell them I would make announcements that they have an open house on May 4th down at the fairgrounds. If anyone cares to go in and be amazed at what model railroaders can do, have at it. have at it. It's, I walked in there and was just, man, you guys are nuts. But it was quite an impressive event. With this, I'd like to ask Nancy Turrell, Executive Director, Woman of the Day, come up and help us get this thing rolling.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. A lot of familiar faces. I think I saw many of you when we celebrated the 100th birthday or anniversary of the high school building last September. So it's nice to see you again. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about why we're doing what we're doing, leading up through where we are today and what we need to do next. To answer, and I'm not the historian in the room, there's other people in the room that are the historians, but the whole room is, exactly, Sandy. It still is engraved above the front door, SHS, so it is Stuart High School. I think it became Martin County High School probably in 1937 when we became Martin County and separated from Palm Beach County, would be my assumption. And then it went away again when Martin County became Martin County High School on Canner. I'm getting an objection.
I taught Martin County High School, and I was the first class to go through it for 3 years. And that was 1967 when I graduated.
Okay.
So Martin County High School was built on the dump.
Right,
The
we're
old
on
dump.
Canner Highway, I know.
And we're out there, but I was in the first class to go all 3 years. Murray was a 9th grade at the time.
Mhm.
So it was always Stuart High School, and my dad taught there, and my mom taught at Palm City Elementary, and we're both teachers too. That have taught. He's a librarian.
But I feel like I have seen some signs where they put words over the
Martin County
SHS.
High School became Martin County High School when it was new out there. It was Stuart when it was in here.
Oh. We'll leave this for one of the Wednesday morning talks, right? So it was several years ago, because none of these kinds of projects happen quickly. We were in a strategic planning session with our board. So we have been the local arts agency working in this community since 1980, trying to make sure that Stuart and Martin County grew up as a vibrant arts community. So we were doing a strategic planning session with the board. Lee Roberts was in the room. And we drew these beautiful visions on a wall saying, what do we all want? And it kept coming up, we want a building, we need more space, we need more places to do more arts and cultural things in the community. The Courthouse Cultural Center, which is where we feel like it, where we are housed now, is great, and it's been wonderful for the community, but more space is needed because there's more things happening that need a home. And so Lee piped up and Commissioner Doug Smith piped up, he was in the room too, saying the school board has just moved its employees out of the old high school. Maybe that would be a space. And all the eyes in the room kind of lit up and said, this is the perfect place for that. It extends the sort of the eastern boundary of downtown Stuart. As Stuart sort of comes out of the core downtown, we can move a little east and bring a good anchor to that side of downtown Stuart. So we're working forward. There were some slow years in there. I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but I could. But there was some administration in the school district that didn't seem very interested in moving the project forward and having those conversations. So things changed right around coming out of COVID time, when Dr. Millay was hired as a superintendent, and all of a sudden we were getting moving paperwork and conversations forward, and we were able to secure a 5-0 vote from the Martin County School Board to have an intent to lease to move forward with our plans and vision for the high school project. We have done structural engineering reviews. We've had all kinds of different experts. One of the questions I get all the time is about asbestos. They're very tiny little pieces they found on the outside of the 1922 high school building, and some in the flooring in the 1950s buildings that his father designed. So, you know, we've been doing all that very due diligence work to make sure that if we were to raise a capital campaign money to make this into an arts and cultural center for the community, that we would be making a good investment, because nobody wants to move forward not making a good investment. So we've been raising the money that we need to do the planning. We have an architect who had to create the as-built drawings because none of the original drawings existed from the building, so we started there. We got a grant from the Division of Historic Resources, did a historic structures report, which is one of the very first steps, and Julie Priest could back me up on that. That's one of the first things you need to do when you start to go down this path. And things have been moving forward since. We have held a bunch of meetings with the artists, the musicians, the authors, all of the people in the community who want to have this be a new home for arts and culture in the community. And so we have a pretty good idea what that needs to look like. On the board over there at the entrance table, there are some small drawings of what each level. So there's the daylight basement, there's the main floor, and then the third floor on top of that. We will be bringing the auditorium space back to life. It will be a recital hall with 295 seats in the theater. There'll be lots of multi-purpose rooms and classrooms downstairs on the main floor, and up on the third floor there will, in addition to the multi-purpose rooms, there will be an event rental space, so you could have, you know, dinner or luncheon for 200 people, move them downstairs and have some sort of production in the theater. When we were getting all of the reviews by the experts and engineers, they recommended that we build an additional structure on the back of the building to house all the mechanical equipment. That the recommendation was that it not be located inside the building, and the acousticians like that too, for all the work that we'll be doing to make sure that all the rooms are acoustically sound and you're not having sound carry from one space into the other space, and that you can hear each other speaking when you're in one of the rooms. So with that, we asked the school board for permission to do a building across the entire back of the building. So we'll be expanding the stage as a result of that and providing for, and this is something I'm learning, I'm not a theater person, but full fly space. Does anybody know what full fly space does for a theater? The backdrops, and if we, you know, did a production of Peter Pan or something, you could have Peter Pan flying through the stage. But you can do a lot more with backdrops, and you know, this is an example of the work that we're trying to do to make sure that we're enhancing and expanding what's happening in our arts and cultural community. We're not just duplicating what's here already. The Lyric Theater, as magnificent as it is, they don't have full fly space, and neither do any of the other theaters in the community. So that means we can bring different kinds of things to the table, if you will, at the Stuart High School Arts Center than you could somewhere else. And the non-duplication is something that's really important to us, that we're, again, expanding and enhancing. This has been way longer of a project than I thought, but we're continuing to move forward. The drawings are essentially done. We're working on a very solid business plan and pro forma budget so that we can see, once it's up and going, that there's enough annual operating income to sustain the facility. And we'll be wrapping things up here shortly to start in earnest the capital campaign for this. We just 2 months ago got new estimates on the construction project and, you know, all of that. So it's been a quiet, slow, methodical project, but I think we will end up with a much better product at the end of the day for having taken our time and really made sure that we were turning over every leaf to make sure we weren't missing something along the way. So that's where we are today. You know, the next steps will be the capital campaign. We will be looking for significant donations. There'll be naming opportunities all the way down, you know, major naming opportunities, all the way down to, you know, bricks of some sort, you know, the smaller community gifts that will happen, because it will have to be built and supported by the whole community for us to be successful. So I hope that we can count on your involvement in some way, shape, or form moving forward. I think, to me, after the 100th anniversary, the comments that stood out most to me were the fact that the alumni that spoke that day and shared their experiences about being able to give this back to the community as a community gathering place like it was when they were in school. And I think really that is at the heart of our vision and our goal for this project. So with that, I'm sort of happy to take any questions or comments that you may have before we turn it over to the panel.
What will happen to the courthouse?
Courthouse we have a 5-year management agreement with the county to continue to do exhibitions in that space. They still want us to continue to offer that programming to the community, so that will continue to happen.
Do they do tours of the old high school at all?
We do. The elevator has not been repaired, so you have to be able to go up and down the stairs. But, oh, well, there wasn't an elevator when you were there, I know. But we are giving tours just about twice a month. So please.
If someone's interested, how do they?
I will give you my phone number and you can call the office. You also can go to our website, which is MartinArts.org, and right on the front scroll, there's a button to push to say that you're interested for a tour, and then Tori.
This is of the school.
This is of the old high school, yes. Yep. Would love to have you, anybody that hasn't spent enough time there.
Trying to get out.
Exactly. But it's a really exciting project. I hope you think so too. It's really going to engage the community at all levels. I didn't really speak to some of the programming, but we already have agreements with Stuart Middle School, the Boys and Girls Clubs, to make sure that we're engaging the youth in the project as well throughout our community. There'll be plenty of educational and summer camp opportunities, and you know, kids of all ages. Working artist studios in the west of the 2 modern classroom buildings, and the other building a maker space and cafe. So it really will be a fully enriched campus of opportunities, inspiring next generations and preserving the past. So it really does all of those things. So again, thank you for your time and attention tonight. And any more questions? Otherwise, we'll hear from the alumni. Sandy.
When you first started, it seemed like there was a local contractor that had experience with, who was very interested in helping.
So our biggest supporter to date, and the only reason we are still talking about this project, Jeff Harden, who owns Straticon Construction, has donated so much labor and time and expertise from his office, covering all the costs of the structural engineering reviews and all the work that we've done today. Our thanks to Jeff. He's very much following through. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Nancy, thank you for being with us tonight and sharing what's going on over at the high school. Before I wrangle my guys up here to to share stories, I want to acknowledge a couple people who are here with us. Eula from the City Commission, thank you for being with us today. Vicki Davis with the as Supervisor of Election. Judy Priest of everything. And Sandy Turrell, a great supporter of the museum.
School board.
Who?
Lee Roberts.
Lee Roberts, School Board, okay.
Also want to mention, on the table over here, we've got a number of yearbooks from the 50s. We have a astounding collection of Martin County school yearbooks in the library. We always have people coming through looking, oh, there's Grandpa, or there's Mom, you know, and it's great fun. Over the years, many of you, including myself, have lost our yearbooks. And we do have duplicates on some years and some at the museum. So if you don't have your yearbook and you would like to have one, check with the museum, see if we have an excess copy, and we will be happy to make a within reasonable donation, turn it over to you. Reasonably and open to interpretation. At this point, I'd like to ask my fabulous panel of alumni, including Boo Lowery, John Leighton, Don Armstrong, Hudson, Dale Hudson. You're not alumni, I don't think, but we're putting you up here. Bruce Steller. And Nancy,
I'll take it.
she's on our board, she's an alumni.
Joe Murray, right down.
There we go. Joe.
Joe.
It's a long name. There's three. Okay, Joe. Yeah. As I said earlier, not Joe, but some of these guys are prone to exaggerating.
Oh, I don't want to know what here.
Others will deny they were there at the time, but they know about it. So I'm going to suggest that instead of sitting here with your backs to everybody, why don't you come up front here where we can see your lips moving, because that's how we know if you're telling the truth or not. And we'll get started with some questions and carrying on. My vice president of the Stuart Heritage Museum is Gloria, and she is going to pepper them with probing questions, and hopefully they will grab it and run with the ball from that point.
Boo Lowery, let's start with you. What year did you graduate?
59.
In 1959?
Yes.
No? All right. Give us a memory of high school.
I'm the principal. He didn't really like me.
Who was the principal when you were there? John C.
John C. Gray.
What is one of your best memories?
Graduating.
Okay, anyone gonna call him out on that one?
All right, after graduation, did you leave Stuart or did you remain here
I've been here all the time.
all the time?
I did go to junior college and then University of Florida until they told me not to come back.
Okay,
All right. Dale, what year did you graduate from Martin County?
I graduated in 1952. The Stuart High School was built in 1922, and I became a first grader in 1940. So I spent all 12 years at the old high school.
Now, it was called Stuart High School when you went. When I went, and I graduated in 57, we referred to it as Martin County High School. That's how strange it, I
Yeah.
mean, it was Some people said Stuart High School, some people said Martin County High School.
Well, when we were seniors, or a few years before that, we had a principal named John Wick. And we were probably 8th grade or something like that, 9th grade. And he says, when you guys graduate, you're going to graduate from a new high school. Well, he lied. But it was called Stuart High School. It used to have over the doors there, Stuart High School, and Greg, I think they put a plaque over it for Martin County High School.
Right, right.
But we always, although we were Martin County High School in '52 legally, we referred to it, my class and all the other classes, as Stuart High School. All the football yells and all that was Stuart High School, and the songs we used to sing was Stuart High School.
What did you do after high school? Did you leave and then come back, or did you just stay here?
I left Stuart and went to Gainesville, University of Florida. Spent 2.5 years there. And 4 of my friends who he graduated with were in the Naval Reserve, and we went on active duty because the GI Bill was going out. So we joined the active Navy. And then when I got out of the Navy, I came back and started in a bank in 1957.
Okay. Do you have a special memory of Martin County High School, Stuart High School? Anything special that sticks in your mind?
Well, one thing that really I'll never will forget is every morning out in front of the school, those 2 little low buildings they weren't there then, nor were the big oak trees there. You can't see the school. But there's a flagpole out there. And my class of 1952 ladies who were in the home ec class built a great big class flag. And we got out there one morning before the rising of the Breger flag. And John Gray was the principal at the time. And we had Buddy Hayes, who played the trumpet in the band, and he played the music going up. And believe me, Mr. Gray was very unhappy with us. I was going to bring that flag tonight as a show, but I couldn't find it. We've always had reunions, our class, and I'd always take it and hang it up there and everything. But anyway, that was just one of my favorite remembrances of the school.
Okay, would you pass that on? John Leighton, what year did you graduate?
1960.
Do you have a favorite episode or a story?
Which one you want? Clean ones. No names, Johnny.
Well, not the worst one. Something in between.
Well, Mr. Gray didn't have much sense of humor with our class because somebody got in trouble with telling, well, we all did it. We knew he couldn't kick out the whole football team or the basketball, baseball, whatever. And so we got away with quite a bit of stuff.
When you graduated, did you stay in Stuart? Or
Yes.
did you leave and then return?
No, I stayed here and went and cut flower business.
Okay, all right. Let's try Mr. Armstrong there.
Well, I didn't graduate from the old high school, but
Okay.
I graduated. I apologize for the mask. My dear wife Jessica, who's here, has a chronic health condition, and we try real hard not to bring bugs home with us. So I'll try to make sure everybody can hear me. But I did go to the campus, and I think that probably a lot of us here went to that general campus. It was on East Ocean. It was about 2 blocks long, and that's where I went to elementary school in about 1956, 57, and Judy's nodding her head because we were in the same class. The buildings had just been built, and my dad, Donald E. Armstrong Sr., was the school board architect back when they had such a thing. And so every classroom I ever sat in was designed by my dad because they were part of this, the baby boom generation had come along, and all these new school buildings were being built around all over the county. So Dad really lucked out into that. he grew up here too, and knew the Hudsons very well, and a lot of the founding families here. But when I came along and went to school on that campus where the old high school building is, I went to first grade there through, I guess, fourth grade. Then they bussed us over to Parker, and we went, that just opened up, and Dad had just finished designing that too. And then we went back for junior high school, back to the old campus. And the thing I remember the most about the old high school building, and I don't know whether you guys remember any of these or not, but they would have all of the kind of public safety movies in that old auditorium. So I remember there was one called Death on the Highway. Anybody remember that one? We're just god-awful carnage, teaching little kids not to be, don't drink and drive, don't even get in a car, don't even think about it. And so that was one of the main things. I remember that old auditorium is what I really remember. And I remember, you can believe it or not, we still had minstrel shows back in the late 1950s, 1960s. I remember going to one of those there back when I was in kindergarten. Our kindergarten class put on a Uncle Sam pageant for the community in it. So that was, the Lyric Theater was only a movie theater at that time. So any sort of, public, community, the things you associate with a small town at that time, those sorts of productions were all at that old high school auditorium. I mean, it just had all kinds of things that were produced there. And then, they then moved us again to the new high school out on Cantor Highway, and that's where I actually graduated. I had very fond memories of that old high school building.
Nancy, what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1955.
Talk into the mic.
I graduated in 1955.
Do you have any significant memory of something special that happened or you were a part of during your high school days?
My class was busy. One of the things that some of us did, the football team was not too good. We never won any big games. We could beat Okeechobee, but we could not beat Fort Pierce because that was our rival. So my year, we tied Fort Pierce 0-0. And it was like winning the game. So we decided that we were going to paint the score on the back of the gym, because the back of the gym faced the football field. So we got some black paint one night, and we went over there, and we just went through the gate, and a deputy came up. And we thought, oh boy, we are in trouble. So he said, what do you think you're doing here? And we said, well, we were going to paint the score on the back of the gym. And he said, oh, okay. I'm here because somebody's siphoning gas for the buses. So you go right ahead and do your job. So we did. We painted the 0-0 on there. So that was one of our big accomplishments.
After graduation, did you remain in Stuart?
I went to FSU. FSU. Not Florida. And then I came back here and taught in Martin County.
By any chance, do you remember who your first grade teacher was?
Mrs. Harold. And Mrs. Lowery was my second grade teacher.
Right.
And
we probably all remember Mrs. Lowery.
Yes. And but I went first grade through the 12th grade at the old high school. And it's, I have fond memories of it.
I think we all do.
So I don't want anything to happen to it.
Okay, let's see what Bruce has to say. Bruce, what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1969.
Okay, so you're a spring chicken.
You're a kid.
I'm a kid.
You're a kid. After graduation, did you leave Stuart or did you remain here?
I went to college
Okay,
on a football scholarship to Memphis State.
okay.
Then they finally figured out Memphis wasn't a state, so they changed the name. Memphis University.
Okay.
I went with, Jeff Bruner went ahead of me to the same school.
Oh, okay, okay.
And our football changed a little bit from the time that Nancy was there.
Oh, I'm quite
Jim
sure.
Nowitzki showed up. He was a special coach. He was my coach. And we won a lot of games. Whenever that man's nose is an inch away from your nose and he's foaming at the mouth, you better not ever have another day like you had today. One of those days when everything hurt you, that's the kind of day I had. But he taught me a lot, and he's an amazing man. He's next to my father, where I stack him up.
When you returned to Stuart, what did you do?
I've always known what I was going to do. I tell my friends when I was in school, I'm working on my second occupation because I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a fisherman. And I fed thousands of people. That's my claim to fame. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It wasn't with a rod and reel either. And just saying that my family, the Stiller family, they love to fish and produce fish for people to eat, for the guy that doesn't have a boat. That's who we work for. And they were fortunate enough to have a very large parcel of property. My dad told me a lot of times we're working today for the property taxes. There's a lot of taxes on that property for a lot of years for the Stiller family to hold it together. And today it's the Yacht Country Club of Stuart and the Mariner Cay. That's where I grew up. That's what my family name represents. It was called Stillerville. It was in between Port Salerno and Golden Gate and Stuart. I'm proud of it. Can you tell?
Sounds fishy.
It was, and it smelled like fish. It didn't stink. My dad made that clear more than once.
Here went Joe Marie. Joe Marie Ashley Paradise.
Right, Joe Marie. I graduated, I was born here in Stuart, so I've seen all kinds of phases in Stuart. And Stuart is really hopping along out there. I'm coming down here tonight. I haven't been downtown a long time. Wall-to-wall people, wall-to-wall cars, trains all over the place. I would like to thank Stuart Heritage. I'd like to thank Mrs. Turrell for what you folks are doing to preserve Stuart. Because there was a time when there wasn't much at all going on here. We had to go to West Palm Beach if we wanted a new outfit to get a pizza. Seems to me we went to West Palm Beach also. And to get the newest movie, West Palm Beach also. But, okay, class of 58. All right, 72 in the class. We graduated from the band shell. And that's another thing you ought to remember to do. Take care of these old landmarks. I can see somebody mentioning, let's put up apartments there. Be a nice place for condominiums. So don't let them take the band shell down. Thank you, all of you people who have written and made an effort to keep Stuart.
My mother graduated in that band shell.
She graduated my class.
Sure.
I graduated in 58.
I'm not sure when she graduated. She died, passed away at 83, 10 years ago.
Okay, then she was before me.
Joe, did you stay in Stuart after graduation or did you leave and go away to school?
Okay, I went up to Stetson University, and here's another thing. Let me mention this. back in that time, anytime somebody asked where you are from, Stuart, you say Stuart. And so many times I'd have to tell people, where was Stuart? So finally I said, you know, I'm from West Palm Beach.
You knew where that was.
So anyhow, so I'm graduating from Stuart. I see they had superlatives back in those days that they put in the annual. I was not the prettiest. I was not the smartest. I was not voted the most likely to succeed. I was not the gossip, but I was the class clown. Okay, so another thing I can say, there is something about the high school that I don't like. I don't have a good memory of this. Maybe some of you others can hook into this, but I went by the high school grounds Saturday just to make sure. And I walked around the place. They've taken all those old buildings out back there. Back when I was in first, second grade, those old buildings are gone. But anyhow, I'm walking around, and there was something that's still there that I never liked. When you went to school in the morning, and Dad would drop me off, so you had to walk down the gauntlet, which was about an 18-foot cement sidewalk right up to the doors, and they were lined with benches. And the people, you know, the other people, they were sitting on the benches. The remarks they would make as you walked forward, they would say things to you. They didn't like your outfit. They made remarks. There were some days where we had to wear certain colors, like Thursday. Remember Thursday we had to wear certain colors, huh? And if you didn't have those colors on, God help you. Remember Jack Stewart? Jack always had a lot of things to say. You get my point. But this was like the Trail of Tears. This was like going to the Temple of Doom. It was a lesson in true humility. They don't have the benches there today, but they do have the sidewalk. Anybody else have that experience? Oh, yeah. I remember the benches. Joanne says she did.
I remember the benches.
That.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you were one of the ones sitting on the benches.
But
anyhow,
people would be sitting on the bench.
I love Stuart. Stuart was a great place in which to grow up. I love the high school. Like I say again, I thank you guys for trying to preserve that building. And I thank you. Didn't you have something a lot to do with Rio?
Yes.
Doing things in Rio? So you get a round of applause taking care of that. So anyhow, Gloria, that's all I got to say.
Do you remember any of your teachers? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like favorites, maybe?
That's another thing.
Uh-oh.
My first grade teacher, Mrs. Harrell. Yes. I still don't like the lady. And you know why? She spanked me. I mean, I was only 6 years old, little kid. She took me in the bathroom and spanked me. And you know, what did I do? I did not throw spitballs. I did not do other unmentionable things, but I scribbled on Brooks Bridges' paper.
Wrong person.
You know, what kind of, I've never forgotten it.
Either is Brooks.
Do you have a favorite teacher maybe that you remember?
You know, I liked Mrs. Brock. I thought she was very interesting. She was a good historian. I always loved history. And I can still remember when we were learning about the Spanish exploration, conquistadors, and she would help us try to pronounce their names. I remember Ponce de Leon, and we had to pronounce it. We pronounced it Ponce de Leon. And I remember anytime I'm talking about this explorer, I remember her walking us through the pronunciation of that. You know, the teachers have a huge impact on kids out there, huge. And Mr. Wells was one of my favorites. He knew how to explain math. I particularly love geometry. So you guys got a good heritage there.
I had Mr. Wells in plane geometry too.
We had him for about 20 years.
Do you have any favorite teachers, Bruce?
I do. My first grade teacher was a beautiful lady named Miss Ogg. I had Miss Brock,
Okay.
Miss Frary, favorite teachers. And Joe McCoy
Yeah, that's right. That is right.
was our principal, and he's the only guy that ever gave me licks. I was a bad boy in the 7th grade, and I couldn't play football. My dad didn't let me start till the 8th grade, and I was angry little guy, that's all. But I got over it.
Now, Nancy, do you have anything to add to any of this? Any favorite teachers or teachers you disliked? Or?
I can't say that I really disliked any of them. Fanny Jackson was one of my favorite teachers in high school. Mrs. Reardon, we had a way of getting her off her subject and on something else. So we didn't get a whole lot of history. And but they were all real good teachers, elementary teachers and everything.
Okay.
And even Mr. Gray had his good days and bad days. And with our class, it was a lot of bad days.
Depends on when you were in there.
Don, do you have any favorite teachers, or who was your first grade teacher?
My first grade teacher was my aunt, Eddie Lee Smith, if any of y'all had Eddie Lee. And I have no doubt my mom arranged for that to happen, probably. And she was a great teacher. I mean, I really, just being objective about it, she was a really excellent teacher. And but I think my favorite was Mrs. Lowery.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I remember a lot of kids felt that way because she just had so much heart. She was just a very warm, loving person that made kids really enjoy being in class and wanting to come to class. That was kind of unusual, you know, for a teacher. And that was, she was always special to me for that reason.
She had the rhythm band, remember? That was really
Oh, right, yeah, the band, and Mrs. Keller, when I was there, it was, Becky Keller was the band person, the music person.
We have a really nice picture in the museum of the rhythm band.
Oh, great.
Yes, and Mrs. Lowery.
I'll have to come in just to see that. That really brings back memories.
And Eddie Lee Smith was my 3rd grade teacher.
Oh.
Yeah, I had her too. She was wonderful.
She was, yeah, just a little firecracker.
Oh boy, she really was. She was small, but
yeah.
She was a tough one.
But yeah, a lot of.
Let me say
yeah.
My mind went all blank a minute ago, but Miss Wells sitting right there was a special teacher to me. I had her husband, and I had her in the 4th grade in the old high school, the one we're trying to save. So I didn't ever want to leave that out, but I had a little brain freeze there.
Okay, John, how about you? Do you have any favorite teachers? Name a couple of your teachers.
Well, I'll start out with Mrs. Laurie, not Mrs. Laurie, Mrs. Harrell,
Okay.
then Mrs. Lowery. I can't remember the third grade. Mrs. Ormond was the fifth grade. Mrs. Otto was the.
Hutto.
Hutto.
Yeah.
Was the fourth grade. Then Mrs. Sims was the sixth grade. And then we went into junior high, which was all up in the old high school.
Is there anything that you could finish up with, that something good or bad?
Well, I
that you're
worked it out where I went
doubtful
to
of?
school one day a week in my senior year. I'd get out a half a day to go play sports, baseball or golf or run track in the springtime.
Okay.
And in the winter, we played football, basketball my senior year with that.
That didn't get you any special privilege, did it?
No, none at all.
Dale, can you remember any of your teachers? Who was your first grade teacher?
Kitty Ford.
Oh my gosh.
And I have, and Mrs. Lowery's my second grade teacher. It was
Really?
One of my favorites.
Gosh, she must have taught all of
I
them.
think she did.
He was like Dr. Parker.
Yeah.
But I have composite pictures of the first and second grade, all the kids in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And still remember some of them, you know. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I would like to make one.
Anything you want to add that you might have forgotten to mention?
Well, I just want to make a point. You're talking about having these high school annuals. There's a site called classmates.com, if you've ever heard of it. You can get copies of University of Florida or any university, all the high schools all around the country. It's a pretty big business. But ours are in there. I sent my 1952 yearbook in, and they copied it and sent it back, and now it's available for anybody who wants to buy it. You can get 51 or all these things. But I was curious what they would produce, so I bought one. But it's a little company called classmates.com, and you can go back to their history of all your classmates in your different schools and different years and everything. It's quite interesting. I think it costs something like $30 a year. But if you're interested, that's a good way to get a class yearbook. But another one of my favorite teachers was, of course, Fanny Jackson and Lulu Roth. That was Sarah Lou Timon's mother. She was a wonderful lady.
Oh, I had Mrs. Roth too.
Yeah. And I remember going back to memories, we spoke about sports, football, basketball, and all that. But when I was a junior, I was on the basketball team as a team 3, I think. But we played the district tournament and won it. We each have a little gold basketball engraved in there. And then I played football too for a couple of years. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. And we took up tennis and things like that. But it's a lot of fun. We'd take the bus and go to different cities. We'd spend the night in Frost Roof over in the middle part of the state. And we stayed with some families there. Richard Steele from Hope Sound, he was a year older than I. And we had a lot of fun on the bus trips. And of course, the band had their own bus. That's where all the girls were in the band. So we couldn't get around them. Do remember going back into the old Main High School, the auditorium. We'd have an assembly meeting every Friday, usually a program by some outsider giving us something about, and they'd make all announcements and everything. But on the stage there, where we had a big blue curtain, and up top had a thing, SHS. So that was in 52. So we always thought we were Stuart High School, even though we were Martin County High Schools. According to John Gray, at a reunion we had down in Port Salerno, we had a 3-day reunion, just like the conventions are for the businesses. And in fact, we rented a school bus and took us over to the log cabin. It's another thing we haven't talked about, over in Rio. And Barbara's mom, Jean, was there, and Jean's a kind of a funny gal, but she had we were having a lot of fun there, but she had a skirt on, and her, I guess her underwear kind of pulled up or something, so she made a funny little move. I think we took a video of it too. It's always a big fun thing to remember about Jean. She's a great lady. But our class was only 39 graduating, and we also graduated from the band shell down here. Roscoe Rollins was the superintendent of public instruction, and during my senior year, he took 3 of us up to Tallahassee for Boys State. It was Al Henry, myself, and I think Lee Johns. And I just came across a certificate where it says I attended it, whatever year it was, probably 52. But we had a great time. Everybody knew each other. Everybody pretty much stayed out of trouble. So, but those are days gone. That's be nice to have the high school fixed up like it was as much as you can. The first, second, third grade were out in the little outbuildings out back, and the home ec building had been torn down. And I guess that's where you talked about adding on a backdrop. But that's where the home ec classes for the ladies used to be. And then we had Long Field, the old football field named after Possum Long. So we played a lot of footballs on that. And you're talking about beating Okeechobee, Joe Murray. Our class, we were kind of a losing team. We won about 3 or 4 games. But we got the Okeechobee's last game of the year, and we whooped those suckers like 58-0 or something like that. And that stood as a record up until about 7 or 8 years ago when the Stuart News had an article that had been beaten by whatever your football team played them. But we beat Okeechobee up good. It was fun going to school there, really.
Boo, is anything that you've remembered you'd like to add to yours?
I had Miss Harrell,
Miss
and my
Harrell?
grandmother, and Ms. Smith, and Miss Schroeder. She didn't like me. I've read her report card. She wrote some funny things down.
It wasn't true.
She wrote on your report card,
Yeah.
Boo? You know who was
What did
really
she put
good?
on there?
I don't remember.
I
You
don't
know who was
But,
really good? Dale Clark. Dale Clark.
Yeah,
Remember
Mr.
Dale
Clark. But in high
Wow.
school, I liked Miss Jackson, Mr. Clark, Mr. Wells, and I never had trouble with the teachers. It was just Mr. Gray. Buddy Tillman sitting right back there. Kel and I really got into trouble. Probably why Mr. Gray hates us the most. We went to a football game. It was Okeechobee's homecoming, and Buddy and I sat right next to the band up there. It was cold, and the band all went down to do something before they went out to play, and we sat next to the tubas and the big horns, and we stuffed their jackets in the band.
If any of y'all in the band, it was his idea.
So the next Monday, they couldn't play during halftime. They're out on the field. So we had to go to Mr. Gray's on Monday morning, and he was going to suspend us. So I told him he couldn't do it. That he wasn't responsible. Well, he said he was responsible for everybody when we're at a school event. So I told him if we have a wreck and kill somebody, is he going to be responsible? And then he said, well, you're expended anyway. So I knew Mr. Crook. He was the superintendent. And so I went and saw Mr. Crook and told him, and he thought it was funny. So he called Mr. Gray up and told him he couldn't suspend us. So that's one of the things. There's a lot more, but that was one of them.
Well,
me do one.
Go ahead.
I just remembered another funny thing. You talk about Mr. Gray. He wasn't really liked by too many of the students. Some of them liked him, and I guess the girls did, but boys didn't. But his office was in the bottom, it's kind of a 6-foot drop where the cafeteria and everything was. And some of the guys who really were up to mischief, they would take a hose and they'd open up the windows a little bit, and that would run all night into his office. I wasn't involved in that, but that was what he got
What you knew about it? You weren't. That was wicked.
We had the first class in 1960, it graduated over 100 students. There was 103. We were Suncoast Conference champs in football. We were conference champs in golf. And baseball, we did pretty fair. Track, we won that when I was in the sophomore year. 57, we were conference champs. I played a few sports.
I think we'd all agree, all of us sitting here tonight, that we had some great years and memorable times. And I think that we all also want to save the building and have it used for a multiple type of arts building. I think it's definitely worth saving. Just think, our great-great-grandchildren will have something to talk about, maybe. Anyway, I want to thank you all for participating. Is there anyone in the audience that might have a question?
Or a story.
Or a story that might relate?
How about you, Gloria?
I don't have any story.
I got one more.
All right, come on.
I got one more story, which I think is funnier than Dickens, but we had a teacher named Mrs. Loy. And we had my classmate, Bobby Longbottom. His father was one of our 2 barbers in town. And he made her mad at something on the 2nd floor. Remember the big wooden stairs, I guess, are still there by that elevator they put in. But she jumped all over him, and she had a big wooden purse made out of wood about a foot long each all around. And she took that thing and hit him, knocked him all down the stairs. I never will forget that. They got their revenge too.
Oh, good. Does anybody have any great stories they'd like to share? Yes, sir.
I got a couple.
Your name, please.
My name is Jan Isida. I went to Martin County High School, graduated in 1966. 66.
Well, front seat can be videotaped.
Okay. I remember the gym, and the gym was amazingly small compared to the gyms in other schools. The gym was so small. How small was it? It was so small that you had to cross the center line and come back across, and then you could shoot a basket. On Friday nights after the football games, they would hang up the jerseys and the stuff inside the gym. On Monday morning, when you walked in, that place smelled bad. I mean, real bad. And when I was going there, and I was in the junior high school, the only time I had played organized sports, I actually got a letter, which I brought here. I'll show you. And I was in junior high.
Oh, yeah.
Don't move because you find old junk. So this was the only organized sports I played in school, and when looking back on it, it really wasn't very organized. So.
What? That's a swimming. That's a swimming letter, isn't it?
No, I never. We never swam. This was for Stuart. Stuart Jr. I think it was for track, but I'm not really sure because I went to college in the 60s, so. Thank you.
Does anybody else have something they would like to add?
Oh, no, not Chuck.
Mr. Hawk.
I'm Chuck Hawken. I graduated with Johnny in 1960. We moved here in 55, so I didn't have the pleasure of some of your grade school teachers. So I entered 8th grade here, and I was the new kid on the block, and they organized your class rings. Every year you'd order your class rings. And they decided they wanted to have design a pattern and be used for 5 years. It would save money on the dies and everything. So I was selected to represent the 8th grade. Gerald Brown, was he president of the seniors or student council? He was in charge of the committee. So he was class of 56. So this was going to be a 5-year ring. 56, 57, 58, 59, 55, 50. I was educated here, let's see. 56, 57, 58, 59. Anyway, I was the end of the thing. We met in Irf Jones, Jocelyn, the ring companies. They would come in. Irf Jones, and there was a third one, I think. And we're going to come up with a pattern that was going to be used for 5 years. And mine was stolen in a burglary. So if you've got your class ring, what does it say on it? Stuart High School or Martin County High? Stuart? What year did you graduate?
56.
It said Stuart.
Mine said Stuart High School.
Okay. Well, we had the 5-year plan there, and for the standard pattern, and I was the representative in our class. Sorry, we didn't have any choices because Gerald Brown, he's going to tell you, hey, you're going to do this and this and whatever. Mine did have a blue stone in it, but anyway. So, really? Oh.
69 had a blue stone.
Really? Well, it was blue and white, wasn't it? They're educated here, they know.
Thank you, folks.
That's right.
Y'all have been very, very generous to them. I really expected, them to be called out on some of these stories, but y'all are obviously were brought up right, had the right teachers, taught you how to behave in public, perhaps better than some of the later classes. Again, I want to thank everyone here. We do have a 50-50 drawing. Someone's going to have to give me a ticket.
Hey, before you do the 50-50, the gentleman in the red jacket, did you want to say something?
Yeah. You've come a long ways to be with us.
I flew in here yesterday. My name is Jim Boyd. I graduated in 1957. I went through first through the 12th grade at Stewart or Martin County, whichever it is. I also had the distinction of being kicked out of the Glee Club. I was kicked out of the band. And finally, Mr. Gray kicked me out of school. One thing I wanted to mention that a lot of people forgot. On Friday night football games, we would stand up and they'd play Dixon and we put our hand over our heart and they'd play Dixie.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the game or during the games, as soon as it's over, those of us that wasn't playing football would go to the back of the football field. And the black kids that wasn't allowed in there, they were on there, and so we'd sit there and talk to them. The minute the game ended, they went over their side, we went our side, we'd have a great rock fight. And you know somebody, we'd throw rocks like crazy. Nobody ever got hurt. It was a great time.
Thank you.
We have a donation tonight from the Wells family. Would they like to stand up and share?
Found this. This is a textbook from Stuart High School, and it's from the 1936-37 school year, evidently. May have been my dad was a geometry teacher. He was not teaching in 36 or 37. He would have been about 12 years old. But anyway, we'll pass that along to y'all for your museum.
May have been the same book. But
May have been.
Yeah.
May I say that Minnie Louise went as
Modern.
chaperone to Cuba with the class of 1954? Didn't you?
Speak up.
Is that the year that everybody?
It was just the highlight of my husband's life to go to Cuba with the Stuart High School, and to think that his chaperone is right here tonight.
Is the last class to go?
Yes, of course.
We got a
Gary,
question here.
I'd like to say something about that. We had to earn money all through high school to go on a senior trip, and it was kept in a treasure. And so the class before mine, which was my husband's class, went to Cuba, and when they came back, nobody was allowed to have a class reunion. I mean, a class trip after that. And we had earned all of this money and saved all this money. So John Gray thought we should donate it to the school. And we said no. So we had parties. We had cookouts. We had beach parties. We had a fun time with all that money, which wasn't as much as they would have gotten today, but we had a good time with that.
He got our last few dollars in our account too.
Yeah, well, he didn't get a penny out of it.
Thank you to everyone for participating tonight. Especially thank the board for standing up, coming up here and supporting us and telling their stories, even if they're not all true.
Gloria, wouldn't
Nancy, thank you for being here and for all the effort you put into the community. Judy, Sandy, Julia, all of you guys, it's great. We appreciate the support of the museum. We too hope to keep our roots firmly planted in this fertile soil of Stuart and continue to be here for the generations to come.
I would like y'all to know that her mother graduated from Stuart High School also.
Her mother graduated
a long time ago.
You did. You taught there. Your husband taught there.
2 minutes account.
I'm too young for that. No, I'm much younger than that.
I got 39 years in at Martin County High School.
Okay.
I was track coach for 30. And freshman football.
And
this is
to everybody who is a teacher is, I don't know how you do it. I've raised one son, and that was too much for me. But for those of you who have the heart and the passion to guide our youth, God bless you. You?
Are you gonna remember May for Historic Preservation Month?
Yes.
Yes.
Brought it up earlier, but
Oh, sorry.
but it needs to be brought up again. May 1st, all of May, is Stuart Preservation Month. May 1st, it'll kick off behind the museum at 5:30. The county preservation board provides refreshments. Y'all put up a tent for us, and we hope you all come out and participate. As I mentioned, we will get their agenda of other events up on our website, and hope everyone will take advantage of the opportunity to hear what our history is based off of.
It'd be good if this kind of an event were somehow listed on your website or someplace. I just heard about it from word of mouth. It'd be good if it was, more people would come.
I agree. We part of our
mission is getting word out. And it's not something we've been extremely effective at, but we are working on it. You know, we now have a YouTube channel, which we'll have this up on in a few days. We have our other events up on the YouTube channel. We are moving into we're moving into the 20th century, kicking and screaming. And I know we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century, but we're trying. We're trying.
You have Facebook, don't you? And you post it on Facebook.
Facebook, yes.
So if people become friends, then you get the message.
Very good. See, if you find us on Facebook and become friends, it does a couple of things. It keeps you informed to what we've got going on. And also, if more people who friend us bring us up higher on the whatever the magic that makes it pop up. So please see us on Facebook and like us.
Also, if you become a member, you get a newsletter.
Okay, let's see you tomorrow.
Really? Just as a side plug here, the museum is a 501(c)(3). We are a nonprofit organization. We survive on the donations and memberships to our humble little organization. With the membership, you do get a newsletter. We're still doing mailing newsletters. We are also going into email. So if you haven't given us your email address, please do. If you haven't made a donation in membership form to us, please do that. We're really quite reasonable, and we don't like to dun people for money. Though, like any organization, the electric bill has to be paid. We have to take care of expenses along the way. So please support us.
Can I just say one quick thing? I don't think Gloria, I don't think Don answered the question about what he did when he came back from, has he been in Stuart all his life? He went away. I'm Jessica Armstrong's wife. I'm going to keep this board for a minute, okay? After he came back from architecture school at University of Florida, he really was one who spearheaded the revitalization of the downtown. He created Stuart Heritage and was its founding president. Some of you might not know that, so he's a great guy, and I'm proud to be married to him.
Well, you're going to have some roses waiting when we get back. Yes, after I graduated, and my dad was an architect, as I mentioned, and then I got a degree in architecture and came here and practiced for about 10 years. And the downtown revitalization was just getting started, and none of it was assured. I mean, it was just kind of an idea that was starting to kind of fill around on a grapevine that the downtown was really at a make or break point, because there was just businesses had been moving out, the malls and shopping centers had kind of taken all the business out of downtown. The post office had moved, and everything was just moving out away from the downtown. But there were some real diehards that were here in the city at that time, and I hope there's a plaque somewhere with their names on it. But the Laycock family, the Jeffersons, who had real vision and real hope for what could be, that inspired a lot of us, sort of the next generation that came along. So as soon as I graduated, I moved back to Stuart, and had already become, while I was still at Gainesville, I was starting to get involved in some of the committees that were starting to try to get some community consensus together on what to do about the downtown. And I became, right out of college, you know what it's like, you're ready to change the whole world. And I had my perfect place to come home to and try to make that happen. But there were a lot of us. The community was just lucky. There were just sort of the right people all came together at the right time. And we had good people on the city commission. And so we had just really all the right ingredients, and it was a blast. It was just great, watching it happen. And there were people that were against it, there were people that were for it, a lot of battles and fights, and so it was just a really cool stretch of time and a lot of activity and exciting things happening. But it was very gratifying to me to see all of the things that have happened since. That could be another conversation. I have a lot of issues with how the development has occurred over the last 20 years or so, and unfortunately, I think it's gotten away from the vision that we had, in the 1980s, and we had a really strong. The city commission was really behind us in regulating the development in a way to be complementary to the old downtown and to keep the scale and the feeling of buildings. But that somehow kind of got out of control a little bit. And I'm really hoping things will get reeled back a little bit, and before it's too late. Those of us that can squint our eyes and have those memories from the 1950s and 40s of what downtown Stuart was like. We know what a wonderful, precious thing is that we have here, and really want to do everything we can to try to help those that sort of next generation now that's come along that's working so hard to make this happen.
But Don is the founder of Stuart Heritage.
Yes.
For the first years, the address was his home address.
That's right. That's correct.
I don't know if everybody in this room knows that he was instrumental, very instrumental in putting us here tonight.
Right.
Stuart Heritage can thank that man right there.
That's
And a lot of good help. We had a fantastic team, but thank you. I really appreciate that, and it's just remarkable to me how you guys have kept it going. I moved away. We were away for about 20 years, and then moved back about 5 years ago, and it was just so cool to just see how far Stuart Heritage has come, and it's just such a strong, thriving operation. It's just fantastic. Thanks to new leadership.
Good people working for a good cause.
Yep.
Yes. State two more little things here I thought of. Don's father, Donald Armstrong Sr., designed our bank. We were one of the people that moved out of the city of Stuart down to the US 1 in Colorado Avenue. We were First National Bank of Stuart at those days, and now we're Seacoast. But Don did that, and I had to travel out to Texas, he and I, to get some plans of a little bank my dad had seen out there. But you're talking about advertising. The Alumni Association of the school has a website, and we get a monthly type thing, and they look for people, and have you seen Joe Smith? You might get a little interested in that and put some information in about these meetings.
Love to reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
What, me again? Well, y'all have been very
Gloria, nobody asked her about her school and her teachers and what she did. I think you should
You're back
ask
on,
her.
Gloria.
That's for another night.
She wants to do that over cocktails. Yeah.
The Blue Marlin awaits.
Right. Again, everyone, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being with us tonight. We will endeavor to keep you all informed as to what we have going on during the summer, and we'll be back in September with a presentation, which we do not know what it's going to be yet, but stay in touch. Thank you.